Hey guys, welcome back to the Unshakeable Founder. I don't know how much time I have right now because my wife is out walking our dog and she has our son with her. So if I get a text message, I gotta kind of head out early. But I want to cover as much as I possibly can. I'm talking about today my first week starting a new corporate job. So I'll get into that. I'll talk about updates on where I am in my business and what I'm looking to accomplish before the end of the year, but also what I'm looking to accomplish next year. And actually, I might dive a little bit deeper into that in December, because I think that'll be a more timely episode. But yeah, there's a whole lot of things I want to get through. So this episode shouldn't be too long. The updates should be pretty quick. And because I just want to get through this and make sure that I'm available to help my wife bring my son up. Because some of you may or may not know, but she's pregnant right now with our second, so she needs help. So let me dive into this. Yeah, this week was all about just adapting to the new corporate job that I took on, because my business wasn't making enough money to provide a sufficient income for us. We're in a high cost of living area in Southern California, and money has always been so tight. And part of that, in the past had been due to the debt that I was in, which I'm no longer in. I still owe, my business coach, and I still owe, it's like a small low interest loan that I have, but no more credit card debt, no more high interest debt, which is a huge relief on my end. I don't remember if I talked about that. I think I might have touched on it in one of the previous episodes, but okay. So the first thing is I had a mini breakdown. So my first day back, working in corporate, it's been over a year and a half since I've worked corporate. I've been trying to, I spent a lot of time last year, months, just focused on helping out, around the apartment with, helping out with my son, because my son was born, and, we had a rough time the years leading up to having, our first little boy. And so I wanted to be there for my wife. I chose to focus on being there for my family. So that was like the first 6 months of last year. Or it wasn't the first 6 months, because last year I quit my corporate job in March, and then my son was born in May, and then I spent up until September thinking about starting a coaching business. And I didn't really start it in September, but I joined my first business coaching program, and they taught me very basic fundamental things that I'll just share what they are. It's basically just like DMing people and posting consistently. And, posting consistently revolves around having like a few pillars of content that you can always talk about and touch on. And so I'm currently in the process of kind of going through a revamp of personal branding my Instagram account, and then I'm going to be jumping into LinkedIn as well. I just bought a course from Justin Welsh for growing on LinkedIn, and that's in my schedule for this month, for next month, which is September. And I think when this releases, it'll probably be September already. But I'm totally diverging from the mini breakdown that I had. So it had been a while, right? It had been a while since I had been in a corporate role, in an office environment. And just, the unfamiliarity with it, it having been a year and a half since being in that role, the change of environment, the what felt like the loss of autonomy, even though this is something that I had promised my wife I was going to do if my business hadn't reached a certain income level by, I think it was by May of this year, 2025. But I had gone a little bit beyond that. So yeah, I just started this job. It's August 25th was my first day. And yeah, just that day, just thinking about like, no longer having control over my time, like it being bound to someone else's schedule, and losing that that level of autonomy. It got to me that particular day, right? Like new environment, loss of autonomy, like these things playing in my head, like partly, feeling like a failure for not being able to reach the income level that I'd wanted. I was just checking my phone. It lit up, making sure I'm not getting a text. Yeah, I mean, like partly feeling like a failure for not reaching my income level that I was hoping to be at, and not having to jump back into corporate. But, this is where we are. This is part of the journey. And I don't think I've ever shared this, but well, before I get into that, so that first day, it was fine. Like, I was busy. I was kind of excited to start, just because, I'm meeting new people. I'm taking on a new role, and yeah, it was on the right. So my wife and I have one vehicle right now, because during COVID we decided, we didn't really need two vehicles. We at the time were working in the same place, and so the place that I'm working now is about 10-15 minutes away. And what happens is she drops me off in the morning, and I take my electric scooter, and then I ride my electric scooter home in the evening when I leave work at like 6 o'clock. It's still, light out here, and we're planning to get a second vehicle in a couple months here after I get, several paychecks to put money down for a new vehicle. But so I was riding the scooter home, and all of this emotion was kind of building up inside, right? Like all of the things that I had been thinking about throughout the day, and, leading up to my first day that I mentioned before. And I just felt like I needed to release like all of this kind of pent up negative emotion. I held it in until I got home, and, I might share this, but I recorded myself walking into, my wife here and my son playing, and, my dog comes up to me, and then I went into the kitchen, and my wife asked, "How was your first day?" And then I couldn't hold in the emotions. Like I kind of just let it all out, and I just started, I just started bawling like right there, and she was like, "Oh no, like what happened? Was it bad?" I'm like, "No, it was good. Like everyone there is so far everyone's been so great, so welcoming, and lots of like interesting characters there." But yeah, it was just the feeling that I'd been talking about earlier of like this loss of autonomy. Like I'm not working at home anymore. I don't get to see my wife. My wife works from home 100% of the time, so I don't get to see her like throughout the day, and yeah, just all these different things kind of building up. But after that first day, after letting, allowing myself to release all of that emotion, like it felt better. Like each day kind of got progressively better. I was getting into the flow of the work day, and just adapting to this new schedule and the unfamiliarity. And yeah, I mean, the first week turned out okay. I'm enjoying the people that I'm working with. I'm getting to know everyone a little bit better. I myself am one to kind of want to dive deep into getting to know people, including coworkers. And so, so usually I feel the most comfortable once I get to know people on a deeper level and kind of understand who they are as a person. And yeah, so first week overall turned out pretty good. Now it's a matter of figuring out when can I focus on the business. And typically it's after I put my son to bed, or, actually that first week my wife kind of took on the role of putting him to bed. But she's going to be a little bit too big here in her pregnancy to be able to do that. So coming up pretty soon. I would say probably within the next month or so, I'm going to be taking that on again. But this week, she took that on, and so I've been getting about an hour and a half to work on the business in the evenings at like 8:30. After we go through my son's bedtime routine, which is like bathing him, getting him dressed, and then giving him a bottle of milk, and then putting him to bed. But yeah, so right now it's more a matter of figuring out the very clear things I need to do to progress the business forward. And over the past month or so, I have been kind of deep diving into understanding Grand Slam offers, I'll call them. And the reason why I think I'm calling it that is because Alex Hormozi, that's what he calls it. But yeah, just learning about think of it as like the anatomy of an offer and the things that make a great offer. Because if you don't have a great offer, then you're not going to have clients or customers, right? It's kind of a basic thing. But I'm also finding and I've talked about this before, there are always prerequisites to things. So the prerequisite to a great offer is having great content, like great value to be able to offer, right? To be able to offer in the offer. And so I'm also developing a lot of extra content, things that I've learned on my journey, from very basic level things like understanding what your values are, understanding what it is you want to be doing, how to structure an offer yourself, all these things that I'm learning, I can package into content for like a very basic fundamental first time founder package. And all of this is like just kind of like the starting point of my program that I've already developed. But I'm just trying to figure out, ways to really create an offer that is just like someone feels dumb saying no to, right? Because I've seen firsthand what a great offer can do, and that's from people like my business coaches, Russell Brunson, Alex Hormozi, these people, of course, they have the resources to be able to put together these really great offers, and I'm working on building up those resources while also figuring out okay, what do I need? What sort of resources do I need to be able to put into these offers to make it a really great offer, if that makes sense. So yeah, so that being said, I have a whole list of things, primarily filling in knowledge gaps with things around sales and marketing and creating offers, things like that I'm currently leveling up on. And part of the process has been just trying to get people onto sales calls so that I can figure out what exactly makes a great offer. But I don't feel like I've had something that's really great. I felt like so far I've only felt like what I have to offer right now, my service, is kind of a commodity, right? Because there are so many mindset coaches out there offering their own versions of their mindset coaching programs, but right now I kind of just feel like what I have to offer is a commodity, and I want to be able to elevate myself or lift myself out of this commodity zone and into a really great standalone offer. So I'm figuring out what that is, okay? And what else did I want to talk about? Oh, so a friend of mine, Alex Hormozi, recently had this $6,000 offer that he had, where if you donate 200 of his latest books, Money Models, then you get all of his playbooks and all of his other stuff. And so a friend of mine, he ended up pulling the trigger on that, spent $6,000, and he gave me one of those book codes. And so I have his book Money Models, but it's the third book in his series. So I'm like, okay, well, so because it's the third book, maybe I should go in order. So I ended up getting his offers book and his leads book. So I'm currently going through those and taking notes, and I will share some of the things that I'm learning here. You know, a lot of this stuff is publicly available on his website, acquisition.com. But I think it would be beneficial to, you know, share some of the things that I'm learning as I go through these books, because they're all, you know, I mean, this guy is one of the goats of businesses, right? Of entrepreneurship. So I don't necessarily want to live the same lifestyle he's living, but he has a lot to teach and a lot of value to add to anyone who does want to start a business, regardless of how you want to end up living your life. But yeah, so I wrote here a list of things that I want to prepare for 2026. I think I'll get into that more in December. But yeah, so, you know, what I've mentioned so far, you know, there's Alex Hormozi's books. He also has like courses, free course or free training based on the books on his website, acquisition.com. So I want to go through all of that stuff. I got Justin Walsh's course for LinkedIn and growing on LinkedIn. Right now, you know, my LinkedIn's kind of quiet. Like I'm focused more on Instagram, but my Instagram has been kind of quiet since transitioning into this corporate role. But I'm in the process of revamping that as a personal brand. And that's based off of my coaches, my business coaches. Like they just released their course on creating a personal brand. So I'm going through that as well. So there's a lot going on, right? That's on top of, starting a corporate job, maintaining, balance with my family and spending quality time with my family. It's a lot. It's a lot, right? Yeah. So I think I've covered everything I want to talk about today, but I will keep you guys updated on things that I learn. And, I think moving forward from here, I will continue to spend maybe like 5 minutes. I want to keep it down to 5 minutes of personal updates, but then get more into the business stuff and sharing, kind of real world or like real world examples of what I'm going through, what I'm feeling, but also what I'm learning, and sharing some actionable takeaways that you guys can take with you every time you watch one of my videos. So, as I go through this, I'm learning about, through the offer deep dives that I've been doing, what value really is. And, honestly, looking back at all of my previous Unshakable Founder series videos, I don't know, I don't personally know, I kind of have to rewatch some of them, but I don't know if there's a whole lot of value that I'm sharing other than like my personal experience and what I'm feeling as I'm going through all of this. One of the things I forgot to mention is I still have my one-on-one client that I'm working with, and trying to get her amazing results as we go through my Unshakable Founder system. She's my first kind of like case study, right? And I am planning to do another set of like 4 or maybe 5 other case studies through this new offer that I'm putting together. And I'm really excited to launch that. I will likely launch that Q4 of this year, which is October. And yeah, I mean, I am figuring out how to add more value to you guys and to these videos so that you guys can take more with you. And you guys will see more of that as I continue to build and as I continue to document my process. But, as always, if there's anything you guys want to hear about or learn about or hear from me, let me know in the comments, guys. Let me know in the comments, and I will address as much as I possibly can. Maybe they might be like standalone videos, not part of the Unshakable Founder series, but, anything you guys can ask is hugely beneficial to, what you guys want to learn more about. And this is This has been quite a process, transitioning back into corporate work and balancing family life, my current client, and building the business and content, right? Content creation is all part of it. But I'm here for it. I'm here to learn, push myself to grow. And yeah, I'm just glad to have you guys along for the ride. That's it for this one. I will see you guys next week.